Hello everybody, I am Omega Recon Gaming, and today I'm going to be talking about Death Note and the movie. Well, the one on Netflix, because I think there's multiple movies, but I only saw the Death Note. Well, I mean, there's technically the recap movies, but they don't really count. Plus, nobody likes recap. Like, ever. Like, who likes getting a recap episode? Anyway, off topic. So, I'm going to be reviewing Death Note as the series by itself first. Then I'm going to be getting into the movie. So, Death Note the show is probably... It's not the greatest anime I've ever seen, but it is very, very good. It's definitely in my top 20. Definitely. I think it might be in my top 10. I have a list here. It's 15. It's 15th on the list. Yep. It's really good and gripping, and you just gotta believe the hype. It's just it's a really good anime. It's why it's got so popular at time, and it's got a great following. I mean, the characters are good. The animation is great. The story is great all the way through. Not just the first season. The first season's good. Like, that's like spectacular. The second half, it's okay. It's good. It's good. It tails off a little bit, but it's still good, and it's got a great ending. But everyone remembers the first season who watches Death Note. Everybody. Well, they also remember the opening to the second season theme song, which is honestly really cool. It's probably the best thing that came out of Death Note, is that fucking theme song. It's so good. I don't like metal. Let me be clear. I do not like metal music or anything. That was pretty, like, that theme was pretty good. So the props on you. So, yeah, everything's good about it. Yeah, even the soundtrack, like the sound, the sound comes in bright, like perfectly when it needs it. When it needs to be creepy, or like when he's writing a name. Honestly, I watched Death Note. Originally, I watched it in dub, and then I watched it in sub. But honestly, if I were to pick the best version, I'd pick the dub. Lights and a lot of the voices in English are pretty great, especially Light's voice. Light and Ryuk's voice in English are superb, absolutely superb, and so is L's voice. Fits the character perfectly. I couldn't think of a better voice. So, and if I were to rate the series, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Here's why. Like I said, Season 2 drags a little bit, and, that's why. Because, that bothered me, that it just, it's such a good series, and then it hits the little, and then it picks back up, But it does have some good, it's kind of like up and down. The Season 2, I should say, it's all down. It's like, it's up and down throughout Season 2. But it does end good. Like, I'm satisfied. It surprised me, when I saw it. And I've watched Death Note over and over and over again. Okay? So, I've watched it both. I've watched it English subtitles and dub, so I'm not biased either way. Got that out of the way? Good. Okay, I've seen the show from beginning to end. Okay. Talk about the movie here. I wanted to go in hating it. But then I talked to my friend, my good friend Callie, Jonathan. He told me he loved the movie. And my other friends were telling me they hated it. And I said, why did... He's like, what'd you like about it? And he's like, he said he gave me probably the best advice you could ever give to someone. Don't go in expecting a shot-for-shot retelling of the anime, because that's not what you're gonna get. This is a spin on it. It's why it's called an adaptation. They adapt it, which means they can change it. Adapt to change. It changes. People may not like the changes, but because... Okay. This has bothered me about, like, all the people who's like, oh, it's not exactly like the show. Why would you want it exactly like the show? Why? I sat there, and when Jonathan said, I don't want a shot-for-shot retelling, and I was like, I want something new, a fresh spin on it. And I sat there and I was like, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. So I went in with that mindset, giving the movie a chance on its own feet. And you know what? I liked it. I got a Netflix account, you know, the free month, just so I could see Death Note and Moana. I wanted to see both of those movies. So, first I watched Death Note, and just this morning I watched Moana. I actually watched Death Note a few weeks ago, like, you know, when it came out and stuff, but I wanted to let the heat die down before I gave a serious talk on the Death Note movie. Man, I was very angry on Twitter, like, people were, like, bashing it for, they weren't giving it a chance. They were like, oh, it's not a good adaptation. I was just like, it's not the story. I was like, why would you want the exact same story? If you want the story, go watch the anime. You know? See, though adaptations can be bad when they're given to bad directors. I'm looking at you, Shyamalan. You ruined Avatar: The Last Airbender movie. But here's the thing. Having a bad movie doesn't change the show. Death Note, the show, is still great. I'll still watch it. Even if I ended hating the movie, I'd still watch Death Note. Like, if Pokemon had a bad movie, I'd still watch Pokemon, the show. You know? If it's a bad movie, it's a bad movie. You still have the anime and the manga to enjoy. Yeah. Okay, you didn't like it. If you gave it a shot on its own 2 feet, you know. I watched the before making this video, I watched the behind the scenes, credit, on, like, all the actors. They could have been lying, but from from what he sounded sincere, and I wanted to believe that when he was saying, I wanted to make something that would make the fans happy. I wanted to create a new spin, a new, because I loved the story of Death Note. I loved all the, the ways they handled it. And the actors seemed to really like it, blah, blah, blah. Now, it could have been fake for all I know, but I want to choose to believe that he genuinely cared. And honestly, I really liked how the movie came out. It honestly surprised me on how much they did change and how much they did, If there was one thing that I wanted to see, and if it be a deleted scene or just something just a little extra, it would be seeing the actor who played Light Yagami, which they call Light Turner in the movie. I want to see Nate Wolff, who plays, I want to see him do the chip scene. I just really want to see it, because I watched another one of his movies, Nate Wolf was really popular when he was much younger. He was in the Naked Brothers band. It was big on like you got it big on Nickelodeon and everything. I still have that movie, shamefully, but you know I watched it as a kid. I was a big Nicktoons fan. You know, I played Nicktoons Unite. That should prove. Anyway, so yeah, actually originally I was like, there's no way you can get someone who, you know, like he was in something called the Naked Brothers Band, and you want to put him in Death Note. He was also in The Fault in Our Stars. I didn't see that movie, but from my parents and my sisters, they say that movie's great. So, so he was in The Fault in Our Stars. Then he was in Death Note. So I don't know. So he was in a good, you know, he's been in hits. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a. So I was actually really surprised, and I really did enjoy Nate's performance. It was a little you know, a little at points, but some, you know, he could pull a good performance, as well as Ryuk, William Dafoe. Nailed it. And I did like L in this movie. I did like L. I find it interesting, and they added a little bit of a spin to his backstory that we didn't really get in the anime that much. Like, you know, they kind of added a little bit more, you know, to something. And I really liked that. I really liked him as a character. I felt this L was a lot, like, he did feel a little, like, he was different, but I did feel like, yeah, he was a lot more serious than L. Like, a lot more, like, what's the word? He had a lot more emotion than L. L was a character who, you know, he had a very, you know, blank expression, you know, for the most of the time, and at least in the English, he had a very, you know, depicted, like, you know, I don't know how to explain it, like, condescending, like, he's very particular. Like, I don't know how to describe him, really. He's odd. Like, you know, I feel like both L's brought something that is unique. Honestly, if I were to pick one or the other, of course I'd pick the anime L, but this L was good. I liked him. I liked the actor who played Watanabe. Yeah. I also liked the actor who played the Light's father. And I feel like they mixed Misa and another character together to make the love interest, because yeah. So you know, I went in with different expectations, not to hate it, and I liked it. Simple story. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I'm glad with the story we got. Honestly, I hope we get a sequel. They've been hinting to a sequel, actually, but, you know, considering all the backlash, I'm not sure at this point. It's just such a shame that, you know, anime fans can be so, butthurt when they don't get what they want. I'll be, I love anime. And, I always cannot wait until the next week, to see the next episode of my favorite shows. Boruto, Yukio V Reigns, Classroom of the Elite, Dragon Ball Z Super, shit like that. But like, hounding the director because you didn't get exactly what you want? Really? Come on now. I would hope adults watch this movie. Not kids. I think it had an R rating. I don't know, because it was released on Netflix, and I don't know what this was. Well, they decapitated people, so, and killed people, so. I was assuming that would get you an R, because I don't think PG-13 you can show, like, that. Anyways, the one thing that I think that hurt this movie is that it's on Netflix exclusively. I think it should have been in theaters. Honestly, I feel like that's its biggest flaw, is that it's not in theaters. I mean, like, Netflix, I feel like, a lot more people could, would have been able, I don't know. I feel like it would have just reached a bigger audience. Like, why restrict it to Netflix? I don't know. All I know is Netflix did ruin one thing. The Magic School Bus. How could you do this? How could you do this? Anyway. So, the internet should be blowing up on how much they ruined the Magic School Bus, not how much they ruined Death Note, because the Death Note movie is actually good, at least in my opinion, and in my friend Jonathan's opinion. And I'm sure there's a bunch of people who actually do like this movie, but I'm afraid, like, when I was reading, people were saying, oh, I'm not going to watch this movie, because, like, when people are saying, oh, this movie's terrible, that turns people off from seeing it. And I'm like, oh, that's a shame that people will not get to see this movie because, people are just hammering it for not being a shot-for-shot retelling. Why do you want that? So, at the end of the day, I honestly urge you guys, watch Death Note the movie again. And if you haven't seen it, and you're a fan of Death Note, or even if you aren't a fan of Death Note, give the movie a watch. Give it a chance to stand on its own 2 feet. It's a separate entity. It's a movie. Give it a chance. Don't go in expecting, every, thing to be in there. Just go in with an open mind and say, okay. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.